Blue, how it do?
What are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm all right. How are you going?
Oh, I'm okay. I was just finishing a message to you in Twitter because my browser here, whenever you show a video, it says can't play the video. Dang it.
Oh, really? Why's that?
Well, I'm not using straight Chrome, and that's probably it. So
Gets blocked.
yeah, something
like that.
This
reminds me. Oh, so you were going to say something?
I saw Bandito is making promises to be here soon. We'll see what happens. And I miss Poland. That's how I'm doing.
We all miss Poland.
Yeah.
Poland's a busy man. He's got a real life and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Allegedly. No, he does. We know. We've heard all about it.
He has a very real life.
He does. He's got a real name and everything.
No way. His parents
we know
named
it.
Him? God,
what's
lucky.
that?
His parents named him? Lucky.
They did. And we found out about it. Now we've got the goss.
Yeah. Who's here
his
today?
Face and everything. What's that?
Who's here today?
Just you and me.
No, I'm looking at am I using gay Chrome? Hi, albino thunderbuns. No, I'm using.
No, there's no chat here. Yeah, let's see who's in the chat. What about is in the chat? He says, "Hail, VIP is here." He says, "Howdy, y'all." Gothic Arch, hail right back at you. He says, "Soulless and dickless," and I think that has to do with what I named the video, which we'll get into very quickly.
You spelled dickless funny.
Is it?
No, not Gothic Arch. She's got impeccable spelling. I mean, you spelled dickless GHOULS.
Oh,
moving on. Hey, Todd's Truth.
Moving on. Hey, you forgot Antoine. Antoine's here. All right, let's do this. Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, it reminds me of, when I used to just do commentary videos, and this is something that I would definitely, have done a bunch of videos on. And it probably would have taken an hour to, record it and cut it and edit it, but we'll just do it on the fly. And we get to talk with the chat. That's what it's all about. Yeah, there's Bandito. He said he's on his way home, so we'll see how that goes. There it is. Albino Thunderbuns. What'd it do? What did Zach always used to say? It do what it do.
I think he just says, "Hey, this is your boy Zach," and this.
No, I mean when he says, you say what it do, and then you answer, "It do what it do."
Oh, okay.
Oh, there's Todd's Truth. How you going, buddy? Boogiebot Comics is in the chat. He says, "Hey, howdy, hey." I never get that right. He posted some art earlier of his line art, and it's looking amazing.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, you should go check it out on Twitter. I just said it's awesome line art. It really is fantastic stuff. Everyone should go follow Boogiebot on Twitter. Check that out as well. Blue, are you using gay Chrome?
No, I'm using Chromium Edge, which is Chrome with Microsoft specifics on it. So I get to use the Chrome core without having to load Google into my machine.
I have no idea what any of that means, but it sounds good. All right. Johnny Rando, because I was so excited. Johnny Rando's here. I was just thinking we haven't seen Johnny Rando in the chat for so long. I'm so excited to have you back, buddy.
Johnny Rando, I saw you earlier on Letham's, on the other stream.
Yes. I've seen him around on some other streams as well too, and I was kind of getting like, oh no, Johnny's not in my chat anymore, but he's here now. He says he can't wait for the Lucent to lock his socks on his ass. Is that a saying in your part, Johnny? I don't know, but it sounds good. Sounds good. Bandito is talking in Newspeak. OMW, on my way. And Pastmaster Dan is here. He says he'll be in the background.
That is a serious face.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
He looks like he's got some life lessons to give us.
Yeah, but he's not going to be too mean about it. He's going to evaluate you first.
Well, Bandito thinks he's sexy.
Bandito thinks everything is sexy. Everyone.
He does. Gusto's here too. He's throwing out hails like they're going out of fashion as well. And there we go. That's the chat. That is the chat. What is going on, Blue? What's going on in comic books?
Comic books should be what's going on is people telling stories, drawing beautiful pictures. Instead, we have the comic book industry, which has turned into a whole bunch of leeches out all. I don't know. People being ugly, people being inhuman. That's what's going on.
Ghoulish. That's why I called it this, because I saw someone do a tweet. Everyone here already knows. Let's just very, very quickly go over it. Jay Leader did a cover for Ethan Van Sciver that happened ages ago, and now Jay Lee has done a cover for a DC book for the new Rorschach book. Tom King got butthurt about it because he doesn't want to be associated with another comic book artist because my hate group, and that caused a massive kerfuffle. And it turns out that Jay Lee doesn't know anything about this, because why? Because he's a sane human being with a real life. He's like Poland. He's got a real life out there that doesn't exist purely on Twitter and involve insane whisper networks around a dying industry. Can you believe that?
Yeah. No, I didn't see certain things. Like, I'm not even seeing certain replies because I'm blocked by Tom King. So if what's his name? Your boy Zach was saying earlier today that, in a video from earlier today, that everybody who was, in my words, dogpiling on Jay Lee, once it came out that Jay Lee was saying, hey, I'm not even part of this, I don't belong to any groups, they all flipped around. As far as I know, no apologies, because I can't see it, so I'm just presuming. No apologies, just flipped around and said, haha, CG, he's not yours. Like we're trying to own him or something. It's bizarre. But
yes, I don't think we ever claimed that he was CG.
No.
We're just claiming we're just people. We're writers. We're fans, readers, artists, creators. And sometimes we like to get people that we like who do amazing art, and will do it for us to do art for us. Imagine that.
Yeah. And you don't have to be a Jay Lee fan to look at this and say, this is wrong. This is immoral. Uh-oh. All right. I thought I lost my connection to the internet, and apparently it was you who lost your connection?
It was me.
It was you. Oh, I've just been sitting here silently. I could have been... Anyway. I thought I was the one out. Anyway, if you don't have to be a fan of whoever's getting persecuted just to know that it's immoral.
No, absolutely not. Just like Antoine says here, even if Jay Lee knew absolutely everything about CG, he doesn't have to take sides. He doesn't have to come out and hate someone or like someone or anything. He can just take a job as an artist, as a professional, and work. He can work. It's that's what you come down to, the fundamentals of what's going on here. You've got a bunch of people who are screaming about a hate group, and they're saying of that hate group, they're calling Comicsgate a hate group, and they're saying our number one, their number one beef with us is that we don't want certain people working in comics, and everything that they do is about trying to prevent certain people from working in comics, a la Ethan Van Sciver or Cecil or John Malin, or any of us, were we to ever become large enough to get on their radar.
Right.
It's bizarro world. It's just absurd.
It is absurd. And Michael, I hope this isn't a secret I'm revealing, but you're a flawed person. I'm aware of this. Yes. And yet I'm still willing to work with you. Well, if this is work, promoting your book, but I
see you out there working.
Yeah. And it's like they don't understand that we understand other people are flawed human beings, or they haven't. Oh God, what is the? It's not assimilated your Jungian shadow, but well, imagine you're teaching a class, all right, and you're sitting down in a chair before the classroom and next to your desk for whatever reason you're using a chair, and you happen to tilt back during discussions, and then you fall over. If you can laugh at yourself for that, that's the what Jung called it, where you've reconciled. I chat help me out with the correct word for Jung there, but if you've reconciled your shadow self, which is all the crap you don't present publicly, or do you get way too embarrassed, can't handle it, and run out of the room in shame and never come back? And it's like these people can't handle the fact that they have flaws, so they project that on everyone else. They haven't assimilated their shadow self yet, in Jungian terms.
That was my number one first instinct when I saw the very first time. So Tom King came out and publicly said, just knee jerk too. I just heard that Jay Lee has got a cover with this book that I'm working on, and he works with CG. I do not condone this at all. So that's a man just throwing a colleague. I mean, he doesn't even presumably know him that well, because he didn't know, where he stood on all this stuff. Just throwing him to the wolves, knowing, what that would mean. He used the word hate group. He said he works with a hate group, or he's okay with a hate group. And yeah, go on.
No. I thought you were finished.
I was.
We have chatters are helping Antoine and Albino.
Yep.
These are really helpful in this class. Integrating the shadow. Yes, that is the term. And Smiling Bandito stating the obvious, that his shadow self has taken total control. Yes.
Oh, we knew that. We knew that.
We knew. Yeah. But as long as he knows that and we know that, we're pretty cool.
Yeah, Gusto said he's a great artist who was paid to do a couple of covers, and the idiots are raking him over the coals for his associations. It's like, it's like when that soccer player got fired because his wife said something about all lives matter or something. It's just like people, they have their notions about what's right and what's wrong, and they're not going to budge, and they're just going to, throw people to the wolves over this stuff. It's absolutely insane. I've got a couple of things I can share that are just sort of recent tweets. Where are they? Hang on, I've got to pull them into those.
This understanding extended to other people. For me, it extends to even the great Ethan Van Sciver himself. I know he's a flawed human being. I see him be a little unwise, but only a little, or make tiny mistakes in let's say communication here and there. I'm not out condemning the guy for it. It happens. You're going to do it too. You being anyone in the chat, and me.
Yeah, absolutely. None of us are perfect. We all make mistakes. And then, but no one's even, none of us on our side anyway are saying that Jay Lee did anything wrong here. Right. It's more about the notion of, there's this new notion now that you can only even associate with people who are perfect.
Yeah.
Who've never, done anything wrong ever. Otherwise, if they get cancelled, then you kind of get cancelled by proxy as well, just sort of being around them. And that's what I was going to say. That was my first instinct about Tom King, was that, you think that this is you virtue signaling that you're against this is going to protect you when they come for you. They're coming for you. Eventually everyone gets, the mob, assuming you get big enough. Mo Biggs is here. He says, sorry, guys, he's swarmed by SJW ghouls.
Oh,
yeah, well, they're out there. They're out there. This is, Ethan was talking about this earlier, like what is the reason behind all this? I think it's probably 3 main reasons why they're all swarming and getting so rabid, because it's been quiet for a while from them. We've been infighting for so long, we haven't heard from them in a while. Reason number 1 is the $1 million mark that Wrecked Planet passed. Reason number 2 is the demise of the kind of the comic book floppy scene that really does seem to be going the way of the dodo.
Mhm.
And reason number 3 is this Bleeding Full article that's about to drop, the the Whisper Network thing.
Right. They've got
So it's
to
probably
distract from that. Oh, sorry.
exactly that. So I think we're just attacking. When we say we're attacking, we attack by merely succeeding and being proven right time and time again. And they can't stand that, obviously. So it's like that old saying: you know you're over the target when you're copping flack.
Oh yeah. And the reason I brought in EVS's name is because it was Lee's mere association with EVS that they must destroy Lee. And just because, oh, you lived next door to someone we hate, because you didn't move away from them, you have sinned. Like, what the hell? This is how they kind of think. War Campaign's take on this was interesting.
Yeah, I didn't hear that. Poland. Maybe he could come in here and tell us, but he's not. Anyway, so Viewer Uranus said, Jay Lee losing his dog and trying to grieve while being dogpiled on is one of the shittiest things I've heard recently. A true innocent being pulled into war. Exactly right. Yeah. And so people who aren't aware, it turns out that, so what happened was Tom King sent out his first tweet. Then he sent out a second tweet saying, oh, it's all right, I've called him. Don't worry about it, guys. He didn't even know about Comicsgate. He's not on Twitter. This is the best possible outcome. It's all fine. This is directly after he just associated him with a hate group, according to him.
Yeah, that just looks slimy. Hey, I might blink for a moment, but yeah, that whole it's okay now. Just look, I've known people like that. It reeked. All right, excuse me.
Yeah. I just tried to destroy your career, but it's all fine now. Don't worry about it. Just a misunderstanding. No apology. Just I deemed this person to be a non-person, but I've since talked to him and he's capitulated, and it's fine now. You are now permitted to go out and like him again. No, that's not how it works. And the truth of the matter was, yeah, as said here, Jay Lee doesn't know anything about all this stuff. And on that particular day, his dog that he clearly loved very much, because apparently his Instagram is, daily dog posts of his dog, had passed away, and they were going to, I guess scatter the ashes or something. It's a very important day for them. And he said instead of doing that, they had to field this absolute nonsense and BS. And in his own words, hate from social media on that day, instead of a day that should have been solemn and special and personal for him, he was dragged into something very public. Mm-hmm. And like you said, I haven't seen any apologies.
No.
I mean, not that I, follow these people, but I've scrolled through a bit of their Twitter now, just looking for some stuff, and I'm not seeing, there are a few people saying that Tom King, did the dirty on Jay Lee. That's a good thing, but you never know if they were kind of where they were sitting on, what side of the fence they were sitting on anyway.
Now another distinction these children can't make is it's like Zach says, they don't human very well. When you got somebody who's in mourning and they're going to lash out, and that just might happen. They unless there's a history there of where things are a little bit different, they might behave a little bit differently from normal. So Jay Lee posted on Instagram about the dog and about when he's in mourning. It was supposed to be his dog's essentially burial day. So you go through a lot of re-grief on that day, and how that day was interrupted. And I'm not saying he lashed out. That was just a general statement. But he's now venting, at least, and I have no problem with him venting to say how he was feeling. And he tells us the story. And then there's Tim Doyle calling it all manipulative.
Yeah, I've got that tweet as well. So so that's exactly what happened. Spirits Cards is adding to it here. Yeah, so Jay Lee came out and publicly put Tom King in his place. It was that line where he said, "Oh, it's all good now. This is the best possible outcome." And Jay said, "No, we're not good. This was not right what you did." He essentially try to destroy his name and reputation, and on top of that, take away, a very special personal day for him. And and then just act as though, well, okay, nothing's happened now because no harm, no foul. No.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, and they extend people no understanding, and so Doyle leaps to this conclusion, if you're pulling it up, that it had to have been manipulation, when no, he might just be venting. He's setting the record straight in public. He's saying, I'm upset about this. People can manipulate, but that doesn't mean that they are. And these people will read anything they can to the worst possible construction, so long as it favors their narrative. Because that's, I mean, to me, this really does remind me of like 6 to 8 year olds, with underdeveloped emotions.
Yeah, it's it is really, I mean, it's shocking behavior. I'm just reading through the chat here. James Dean Anderson, sorry, I don't think I can send you a link. I'm not on Facebook, so we're just gonna have to have you in the chat there. Sorry about that.
No, that's too bad. I really appreciate JDA's input. I once made a comment about, what was it, Kevin Smith crying a bit, and sometimes I might, my apologies to the chat, I might pull in a general concept and it's not clear how I'm applying it. And JDA kind of answered about Kevin Smith that day, and it inadvertently kind of put me in my place with communication skills. You got
schooled.
Yeah, there's this general concept. It's sort of an old joke that real men only cry for their dog and their father's funeral, kind of thing. And I mentioned about Kevin Smith. Hey, maybe, unless he misses his dad or something. Well, in the background, James and I had talked about my own father's death a bit. And so, I saw a funny look on his face, and maybe he was just looking up because he was finished doing his work. But then he went into some real depth about understanding where Mr. Smith may have been coming from. And it was very insightful, and it's kind of gave me a lesson on watching how I make little comments on things. So I really want his input on this, but we can't have him here.
You're not perfect, Blue.
No, not
you're
perfect.
Flawed as well. I don't think I can associate with you anymore, I'm afraid.
Yeah, but my compliments to James, because I learned a lot from you, man. So
yeah, we like James. So going back to Tim Doyle's, Antoine Dennison, who the F is Tim Doyle? Why does this nobody feel like he can speak on a 30-year veteran like Jay Lee? This is the eternal mystery, Antoine. How do these people get into these positions where people seem to care about what they say, and they have powerful people's ears? I don't know, but I don't know anything about this industry beyond kind of what I'm seeing here on the internet.
Yeah, Tim Doyle's a printer. He makes
I know that. But
no, I was answering for Antoine in case he didn't happen to know.
Like, so.
Yeah.
Would it? Okay, so here's Tim Doyle. Would it have been great for Tom to do this privately? Sure. But whether Jay knew about CG before or not, he knows now. And Tom pointing out Jay was working with a hate group is not Tom's fault. Jay's response is lacking and manipulative. I don't give a F about his dead dog regarding this. See what we were saying about their ghouls?
Yeah.
The absolute ghouls.
It's lacking how? I'm busy with other personal things. Leave me alone, you scumbags. How is that lacking?
I mean, because for him, if you're not actively anti-racist, anti-hate, then you are part of the hate. You're part of the racism. You're part of the exclusion. That's their mindset. If you're not involved in the war, then you're the enemy. If you're not with us, you're against us. There's no middle ground. There's no moderation in their mind.
This really does remind me of, it's both communist and fascist. These are collectivist tactics. Are you engaging in right think?
Yeah. Tom King's last tweet of his dog. What a piece of S. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe Tom King is as oblivious as other people. I don't know. I mean, if he knew about the whole dog situation on Instagram, that seems especially callous. But
See,
I don't know if he did. So I don't know.
see,
Tom King, I think. So Spirits Guy says like Tom King is just weak. I think he just, may have just had no idea what he was doing and how ridiculous it was. I don't know. But
but
what I'm talking about is Tom King posted pictures of him going out. I'm going out with my dog today, like literally today.
Yeah,
and put that against the other dog. I don't know.
Now there you go saying if he knew about this. I don't know if he did. These people don't work like that unless it's one of their favorites. Their standards are so lacking or flexible. And you're saying if he knew about it, then this is not good. These people who oppose, Comicsgate or enforce virtue signaling, they're for enforcing virtue signaling. They don't have the capability that even you're expressing right now. It's shocking to me.
Okay, so Nerd is the word is saying he's actually done 3 posts in the last 24 hours. So while he may not have known the first time, surely people would have been telling him, dude, you're in a very public incident right now, looking like you're trying to destroy a guy who's just lost his dog, and you're here, posting, look at me, I'm out here having fun with my dog. At the very least, very bad optics.
Especially if he never posts about his dog.
Yeah, I don't again. I don't know.
Yeah.
IDZ says dog cares about live dogs a lot. I know. Remember he had that thing with a cat or something. I mean, it's all very weird. Tim Doyle.
No, I believe this is a reference to when he was saying, "Quit worrying about me walking around at night. I'm just playing Pokemon. I'm not going to have sex with your dog."
Oh, is that it?
I think that's the reference here.
No wonder he doesn't care about a dead dog. Speak and they shall appear.
Hey, it's the
Hello,
shadow.
Boys.
Hail and well met. How are we doing tonight?
Oh, we're just getting into the happiest people on the internet.
Yeah. Tom King is a bitch, and he just needs to get off Twitter and not talk to anybody for the rest of his life.
Is he malicious, or is he just
No, he's a bitch. He's just totally doesn't know what he's doing or who he's talking to or what kind of influence he has in the world. He just thinks that he can throw things out into the void and not suffer the consequences. He's one of those elitist government pieces of shit that thinks that he can do whatever the hell he wants to do.
I just realized I wasn't coming through. Hello.
Hey, Poland, how are you doing?
Hello, Poland.
Greetings.
Great to see you here, buddy.
Hail.
Hail, Poland.
Oh.
Jason Black points out, they're on the hate group rhetoric this month. Notice how they do that, SJWs? They'll cycle through. It was Nazis for a while. Now it's a hate group. It was misogynist for a while. It was racist. Like they cycle through.
Are we going to be white supremacists next week? Because that's in vogue now, too.
I mean, who knows? So we could be
I am
anything,
way too
really.
tan to be a white supremacist.
Oh,
No, you're
not. You're not at all. No. Candace Owens got called a black white supremacist.
Oh, right.
So
right.
I mean, really, I don't think it has anything to do with your own skin color.
You're right, and I'm wrong again. Oh my gosh.
This is typically how this works.
Now, Bandito, maybe you're more familiar with this. Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals. When this came up at the end of the last stream, the almost 7 hours stream, what's his name? Not Smiling Albino. Yeah, Smiling Albino.
Smiling Albino, yes.
Smiling Albino. Oh, that's definitely racist.
That's my favorite commentator. Smiling Albino.
Albino Thunderbones. When he moves, he smiles. He brought up, and this may have been after the stream, so forgive me if I'm mistaken again, but he brought up that this was very much a pick a target and freeze it type thing, one of the Saul Alinsky rules. So if we want to start on, not right now necessarily, but start looking at those every time we talk about SJWs, we're going to start finding some matches. It's pretty scary.
Yeah, it definitely feels like that, doesn't it?
The the rules for radicals. That was the one where it's like power is not what you have, but what your enemies think you have.
Yeah, I've got the Wikipedia open in front of me. If the chat would like to join in, so
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that from a while back. That's like, I think I read that back in the 90s. How old is it?
it's old.
It's old.
That's
Very
the one
old.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're talking about the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been in play for decades now.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
There it is.
Yeah.
Rules for radicals. Yeah. Once you start reading all this stuff, I mean, it all becomes so apparent. The SJWs, they're not dumb. I mean, I think their conclusions are dumb, but they know how to organize. They've got a goal. They go out for it, and they're unrelenting. They don't give up.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's hang on. I just want to stop. I'm going to stop sharing this. I'm going to see what this is
So
here.
I got a
Oh
bit of,
yes,
I'm going to see
back
if I
to
can
full
find-
size.
Yeah.
God, you're hot, Poland.
Why you gotta be like that, Blue?
My voice.
No. You're.
Your avatar? You
Your
just
pictures.
like guns.
When are you going to stop using the voice changer and let us hear you for real, Laura?
Mm.
That would be quite the thing, wouldn't it?
Mhm.
What is her name?
What's Michael doing?
So apparently, after all this has gone down, and Jay Lee sent out that rebuttal thing on Instagram, now there's a bunch of people who are, kind of, I guess they're waiting to really throw him to the wolves. They're kind of holding Jay Lee. They're holding his reputation by the shoulders. And they're just waiting to see whether or not they're going to throw him to the wolves that are ready to tear him apart at a moment's notice. So here's Richard Pace asking, has he asked for the cover not to be used by the leader of a hate group yet? I guess he's referring to Ethan there, but I mean, he did work for Ethan. So I don't really understand exactly what this means.
Jokes
But
on
there's-
them. We ain't got no leaders.
There's where is it? These guys are primed. So here's the guy. He's a fan of Jay Lee, obviously, but then he feels the need to add in. I think I should add that this Jay Lee post is not an attack on Tom and definitely not supportive of CG in any way. Like they're it's like they're waiting. They're just waiting to hear like the word, to pounce.
Yeah. Well, okay, here's rule number 4. Whenever possible, make the enemy live up to its own book of rules. So when Jay Lee says, I'm not part of any hate group, I'm not part of any group, blah, 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 then Richard Pace comes back with, okay, the rules for not being part of any group is you have to yank your cover from Ethan. See?
I tried that the other day.
Yanking the cover from Ethan?
It didn't work for me. No, I didn't try to yank any covers. Someone was saying that it was in response to a very nice Chinese lady who's in CG, who was saying, I'm Chinese first, generation immigrant. I'm CG, and the guy was just like, you can't use your minority status as a shield against hate. Just because you're a minority doesn't mean you can't be hateful. And I said, whoa, hold on, or something. Like, no, it's your own ideology here that says you can't be racist unless you're a white person. And it didn't go down very well. No people on their side agreed. Hey, Poland, you asked me about sending JD a link on Facebook. You guys have got the link. I don't have Facebook, so
I don't have him on Facebook.
yeah, exactly.
And I'm the only one that's hold on. You can look. Hold on. How do I find you, James Dean?
Yeah, let us know. We haven't had James on in a few weeks.
No, and it would be so good.
He's gone off the grid.
I miss him.
Crack Croc says, I've been called a Yahtzee in a few comments. Oh yeah, that's the new thing, isn't it? People who want freedom of speech are just racists and supremacists and all that sort of stuff. That's the new thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Maybe that's what will be called next month. Will be Comicsgaters of free speech defenders. And to them, they'll think, "Oh, that's a really bad thing." Spirit Scar says the radical leftist extremists are the most racist ones. Any minority who doesn't fall in line with attacked with the vicious slurs. Yeah, absolutely. That I was saying that the other day as well. That more than they hate the oppressor, they hate traitors. What they consider traitors. Traitors to the race, traitors to the group, traitors to whatever. They hate them more than anyone. Which is right. Yeah, I mean it's that they get the most heat. They're religious zealots. It does have a very religious tinge to it. Social justice. It's got it in terms of, I don't know, like it's not like a belief in God or anything, but it's got that there's dogma, and there's I think that what's happening more than anything is it's non-religious people who still have some kind of innate need to commune together in some sort of under some kind of doctrine that they can use to work through whatever's is missing in their own lives. It's not that weird.
It reminds me a little bit of one of the tactics that created the neoconservatives in America starting in the late 80s. Is that the neoconservatives are essentially collectivists in Republican conservative garb. Like, they're not really Republicans. They get usually labeled rhinos. And the current Republican Party is not my favorite either, so don't worry. I'm not partisan. I'm outside that. But then one of the neocons' stated beliefs is that you unify a people using a common enemy. And that comes straight out of how to do Marxist propaganda. So I'm seeing the same need for a religious cause in what you're describing is, and so they'll just make new common enemies over and over and over again. That's why they rotate between these different dogma.
Yeah, well, it's strange though, because the enemies, what's considered an enemy, what's considered a transgression, seems to be fluid, and it seems to change, by the season. And you better keep up with it, or else you're going to get rolled over. That's what happened to J.K. Rowling. Mm-hmm. She was on board until it just went into an area that she could no longer go, and then she got steamrolled. And everything that she did before is completely irrelevant. And now it seems like with Jay Lee, if you're not actively against their enemies, you'll get steamrolled too. Yeah. Critical Blast says. Sorry. Sorry, go on.
Why did you not move neighborhoods when a undesirable person moved into the house next door? It's that kind of going after you, like I mentioned before.
Critical Blast says if Renfus goes after her, work offers. Sorry, I don't know what that's in relation to. James is here. We can't see you.
I didn't know James was black.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
He's here.
Whoa. Hey.
I'm just going to mute now.
Can I just read this out before we get into this? I like this point.
Black. That's funny.
Here's the essence of it. It's not about Jay Lee. It's about anything that legitimizes CG content and creators. That was the transgression.
Boom. That's it, Antoine.
How you going, James?
Know.
Right. Oh, I missed that. I missed that last thing that Antoine said. Can you read it?
Yeah, he said, here's the essence of it. It's not about Jay Lee. It's about anything that legitimizes CG content and creators. That was the transgression.
You know what's really funny about that is it's like you're going to jump on him now See, obviously the cancel culture thing didn't matter when he actually did the cover, because the cover's been done for a long time. That cover's been out. It's been making money. I don't know if Tom King noticed, but a guy who doesn't have comic book shops behind him, doesn't have a giant national conglomerate that's owned by another giant national conglomerate or international conglomerate for that matter, doesn't have any of that behind him, showed up and in one fell swoop, I don't know if the guys who looked around, raised over $1 million for a Funny Pages book about a frog. And Jay Lee got paid really well to do the cover. And the reason why I know that Jay Lee got paid really well is because I've done work for Ethan. And I will say here and now, Ethan pays better than the industry. The industry can suck my balls. Straight up, I have to pay my bills. And what nobody wants to talk about with the industry is it actually doesn't pay that well. Most creators that are not writers. See, writers are real good at making extra money long-term on stuff that they did once, and it gets out there and it gets reprinted, and frankly, I'm all about it, and good for them. That's awesome. But a lot of artists, and I mean a lot of the creative people, we're talking letterers, we're talking people that do the coloring, that basically make us like that book overall, the love of it, that all work together so that they can get that book out on time, because it takes like 9 people to do that job. They don't make jack. Most of them don't make very much to begin with, and then don't really see residuals. So hopefully the main artist and the main writer do, but even then it's tough, especially when your numbers are dwindling and dwindling. And when you keep scaring away comic book shops and they keep falling apart at the seams, and now we have a giant national shutdown, after which, by the way, most shops are just barely hanging on by a thread. You're going to tell me that it's a good idea to attack Jay Lee, who's just some artist. He's just an artist. And by the way, a badass artist who's been great for, what do you guys think, 35 years? How long has it been? And we've been fans of his stuff? I think I was buying Jay Lee early 90s. It had to be early 90s because he was up on the shelves. I think they're pretty much before Image, or right about that time, right? I mean, I'm just trying to remember when I started buying his stuff, there was already big mainstream stuff. And the dude was sick. I mean, he would do Lobo and he would just do really cool, dark stuff. That was awesome. Tom King, who the fuck are, what? It doesn't, how do you make Batman unreadable, Tom? And then come in and talk trash on Jay Lee. Jay Lee, that dude has been there doing the job. Arthur Adams did a cover for Cyberfrog, for Ethan Van Sciver's Cyberfrog, originally when it was Harris Comics. I know this because I own one. I'm a big Art Adams fan. Now, Art Adams hates right-wing politics. Art Adams is openly a huge leftist and would never work for Ethan now. But Art Adams also has the ability to pick his jobs anywhere he wants to. That is a guy who is so rare that he can sell some work for $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 at auction. Do you have any idea how many other people can do that? Zero. There's Jim Lee, close to that. That's it. There's no one else. So when Jay Lee wants to get paid to make a pretty picture, and no one complains at the time that Jay Lee has to pay his bills and pay his rent, they don't get to later complain. It's very simple, fuckers. If you don't pay my rent, don't tell me how to pay my rent myself. That's what's so stunning about this. These guys act like Jay Lee doesn't have a family. The guy loses his dog and talks about it on the hardest day that he's probably dealt with in a long time. Because let's call it like it is. I heard you guys. I actually heard the quiver in some of your voices. Some of us like our dogs more than we like most people. And that's the day you're going to post some shit on Twitter about your dog. You know what kind of sick, narcissistic, controlling, asshat psychopath would do something like that? Someone who worked for the CIA. Because there's like 9 people out of 1 million who would be so dark as to even think to do that. That's not a real person's brain. Human beings don't interact that way. It is just stunning that you guys, that we're even talking about people like this, and they're saying that we're a hate group or something. How do all the hate group people want to buy the minority guys cover because they also might be minorities as well, and yet this white dude from the CIA comes on there and trashes stuff, and this is coming from a white guy in Kansas. What the hell, Tom? You're a grown-ass man. What is wrong with these people? They are fucking psychopaths.
That's exactly what I was saying at the top of the show, that they're running around saying the reason we have to get rid of Comicsgate is because they accuse us of trying to exclude people from the industry. That's their number one charge on us, that we hate certain people so much that we're trying to push them out of comic books. This is what they spend their spare time doing, openly and proudly and without apology. It's pushing people out of comics, pushing people like Jay Lee. What did Jay Lee ever do to anyone?
Anyone, ever.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, I've kind of secretly, quietly been around the comics book industry for a really long time. Mm-hmm. And now some of you guys know that I do logos and different things like that. But I was a comic book artist, like wannabe, like when I was a young kid. And I was like, that's what I wanted to do when I was 14. And so I kind of got into it very heavily. And by the time I was 19, I was in Wizard. By the time I was 22, I was actually mentioned in a top 10 new unsigned artist list, where it's like, hey, they were like talent pool lists to try to pick up new talent. And so I made some connections in the industry, and one of them inside Image, he told me, and a minority artist, as many of their artists were minorities, he told me, he's like, dude, you don't want this. He's like, I know you, and I'm telling you, you don't want this. Like it's like all or nothing, and it's just kind of the mindset. And it just was so disheartening that I just walked away. Like I'd had enough. I'm like, no, this is crap. And I see where he was coming from so many times over. And that was 20 years ago.
That sounds very much like the story that Zach tells about when he sort of just got a glimpse of the inside of the industry and just noped out.
Yeah. And Zach's a guy who can handle combat. Do you understand that, like, I don't pretend to be a guy who can process combat. Zach has had to process, I say Zach, but Richard, but basically he's had to process stuff that the rest of us, we don't want to deal with day in and day out. He didn't want to deal. Nobody wants to deal with day in and day out, and yet it still made more sense to him. The enemy still made more sense to him functionally than these people. How whacked do you have to be to make ISIS seem pretty reasonable and easy to understand? That's a special kind of whacked. And that's when you're dealing with levels of narcissism that created the brown shirts that worked with the Nazis. Mm-hmm. That's the black shirts with Mussolini. Wasn't it the black shirts with Mussolini, the brown shirts with Nazis? I believe that was the case.
Yeah.
It's how we got there. It's how we got there. It's how we got communism. It's how we got Venezuela to go from a rich country that did pretty well. There was actually at one point the second richest country in the hemisphere. As a matter of fact, I think they might have been the richest country in the Western Hemisphere. To within 50 years, they're eating their dogs, and they've been disarmed, and their army is literally shooting them if they complain. If they riot, if they rise up, they just get shot. Because we just need less people. It's all your fault. It's government or nothing, government or nothing. I understand that people do wacky stuff. I understand that never underestimate the power of stupid people in large groups is a thing. That's a thing to remember. Never underestimate the power of stupid people in large groups. But at some point, you have to assume that we got large groups because no one, just like you guys, stood up and said, you guys are fucking crazy. Start using the words. You people are fucking crazy. Because they are. There are clinical definitions.
It seems now in hindsight, doesn't it? You know, they've sort of gotten rid of the word crazy, and like you can't be insane or mentally insane. It's all, they've pathologized every last personality trait to the point where everything can try and be treated. You can't just be crazy anymore. And that's sort of one of the first things I had to get rid of, so that we would have no defense against these people. So we can't just lump them all together and say, look at how crazy these people are. No one has to listen to them. They're nuts.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what the crazy part, like the even crazier part of the crazy is? I don't even hate Tom King. I don't care about Tom King. You're just a dude who had a bad job, who did some probably terrible things, or at least highly questionable things to get an outcome. And unfortunately, when you're battling crazy, sometimes you got to up-notch the crazy. So who do you hire? Other crazy people that are willing to do that. So when that doesn't work, then you go off and you hire Blackwater to do it for you. And it strikes me as odd that we are talking about a guy who is somehow in power to make these kind of comments, who even got to that point when he made Batman unreadable, literally unreadable. Oh, no, go back.
Sad,
Nerd is the word, I love you, but what was the one right before that? Past Masterdan. I miss the days when we institutionalized the mentally ill. Now, from someone who has actually seen what that's like for people, I can tell you it's a heavy thing to have to institutionalize somebody. On the flip side, it's a heavy thing to also not look at somebody and go, you know, I don't have to listen to what you're saying because you're fucking wacky. And to be able to tell people that they can't say that, to be able to tell people that they actually have to listen to the crazy will drive average, rational, sane people nuts.
Yeah.
Who hired, Critical Blast, who hired Tom King to assassinate mainstream comics? Oh, but that's just it, though. That's what he did with Batman. It was an op. If you look at what he did, he cucked Batman. He took your symbol of what you call white supremacist, basically a guy that literally was the 1% patriarchy, absolute super rich guy, blah, blah, blah. And he tore him down step by step until he was so unreadable that people couldn't read it. And Batman, whether people realize it or not, is literally, I remember 1 month about a year ago, I was just looking through all the charts. I was looking at all the sales charts. I was really trying to study them. And what I saw was 12 out of the top 25 books in the top 25 that month of the top 1,000 comics that were out were listed as books that were all related to the Batman universe. 12 out of 25, which means it was a huge amount of the money for DC. And who do we have then taking over the reins to write it? Tom King. How many of those books are in the top 25 right now? Because if we go back and we look, and then we look now, and we actually research that, like do real research. Forget about opinions. Look at real numbers. I'm telling you, Michael, guys, the dude specifically tore down one of the biggest characters in the history. Batman. It's Batman. It's not like I don't like Batman. It's that I can't read his books anymore.
And he says,
I can't read Sad Man.
I bought 53 and 56 in the same poll. Read 53, never read 56 because I'm like, who would read this guy's writing ever?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I gave it up too. It's
okay. Wait, you did too. Did anybody else give it up? And this is a question for the chat.
Yeah, I was.
Who gave up Batman during that run?
Yeah, I wasn't a big Batman person, but I had started to buy it because I liked the artist at the time.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, no, I had to nope out. It was ridiculous.
And you know what's sad? Scott Snyder, who hates Comicsgate, is totally able to write people from different points of view. Chuck Dixon, who is probably right of Comicsgate, totally able to write characters of every kind, with every kind of point of view. Why is that hard for a writer to just assume that not everyone thinks like you? Like, why is that difficult? This is the problem with getting a guy that used to work for the CIA to write Batman. He literally goes around the world making people think like him. So you can't turn around and assume he's going to write from the perspective of, I get how everybody thinks and feels, and emotionally, I have to empathize. That's what a writer has to do. They have to write characters that are interesting because they are individuals. Skip Edwards' art, I stopped reading during New 52. Wow. I didn't pay attention enough, and then I did, and then I was like, oh, geez. As a matter of fact, I remember buying the book. It's like, oh, Betty Brightweiser did the coloring. I want to see your coloring. Let's see what it's like. Holy crap. And it was Lee Weeks. I mean, the art was beautiful. Great art, and yet it was just garbage. The writing was so bad. How do you tear down everything that a character is that fast? After almost 100 years of that.
Everyone knows sort of the general idea of Batman. So it's not like you can just come in and fly under the radar. And like exactly like you said, he's probably the most popular. Well, he is the most popular superhero of all time in that sense across all the different media.
With
his movies are so big. The comic books were like top selling. My 2-year-old sleeps in Batman pajamas. Right. So it's
my daughter, my little girl, could say Batman before she could say Daddy.
My son
didn't even hurt my
didn't
feelings.
say Superman. My son said Dada because he knew the song. The
Yeah.
Superman song. I always get it mixed up with Star Wars, but you know the one.
Yeah,
He would call him
yeah,
Dada.
You know what? My son, who's 1, could say Batman before he could say mommy. He was saying daddy and Batman before he was ever saying mommy. Like he was
That's
just
funny.
with mommy. He was always with her. Like he never like, no, I'm on her. This is my thing. This is like the other side of me. It's
I
like
think
he
it's
didn't
pronounced
recognize her as
Cynthia
another
there.
person. It was just an extension of himself. I am with mom. And just didn't bother me at all. He's always with mom doing his thing. But when he started saying dada and wasn't saying mama, she was upset. When he started saying Batman, because he would see the the stuff in my spare room or whatever, and he would see this in my office, and he's like, Batman. She was like, like it was great. Like it fundamentally broke her. Like, oh come on, man! Like you're taking him away from me. Man,
James,
guys,
all right.
Batman means something to a lot of little kids. Superman.
James, I
means
got to
something.
interrupt.
Go ahead.
So, how many minutes we got left? Just a few here before we
Just
have
a
to sign
few.
off? All right.
Yeah.
What do we have to do?
I got a bomb to drop.
You can only go for an hour, James. So
I
it's almost
apologize for
done.
taking so much time. Hey guys in
No.
the chat, thanks so much for entertaining my shebangs.
No, we
Thanks
love
for
having you
me
on. Go on, Bandito.
All right. If you want to share my screen. As you can see, this is a comic by a very well-known SJW, Vita Ayala, and drawn by Emily Pearson. Now we're going to go over to my Twitter here just for a minute, and you see that I'm actually following Emily Pearson. There was a time when Emily Pearson was following me, and it was because here, let's see if I can bring this over. I had a character that I was designing, and one of the artists back in the day was Emily Pearson. And here we have an SJW who is drawn for Comicsgate.
Ooh.
Oh my goodness. This is back in the day before. This is back in 2016, before everything had truly blown up, when it was just starting to get underway. And Emily Pearson and I had a common contact, and she liked the story and she liked the design of the character that I was doing.
That's because you can tell a story.
That's because I can tell a story. And I was farming out people to wanted to try and design the character and see what would come back. And this is what she came back with. And so yeah, Emily Pearson has designed.
Oh my.
Helped
Oh
design
my god.
a character for Comicsgate. And
Okay, and see, here's
Now
the
she
problem,
feels
guys.
dirty.
Yeah, but here's the problem with that. Look at that character again. Pull that back up before you get rid of that.
yeah,
Comicsgate are the people that look at that and they go, "Oh, his face is nice." Oh, how long are his forearms?
yeah.
Where are those
Well,
hands down at your knees, man?
These were the
And see,
designs
that's the
back
thing.
then.
When we say things like that, we expect people will actually listen to us, because they can ignore us, or they can mute us, or they can say, "Oh man, I see you actually made a point, and you know what? I should probably work on that." But
Yeah.
what they can't do is then fire back, "Well, you're a hate group." No. If I like LeBron James a little bit, but I love Michael Jordan, and I expect LeBron to complain less when he's missing a bunch of rings on each finger, and Michael Jordan has stacked up rings like he works in a jewelry store, I get to say that because I'm a fan who's in the buying public. And that's
There
what
you
they
go.
keep missing. Comicsgate was about the buying public. Dude, she drew a cool looking character, but I'm still going to talk trash on how long those arms are, because those forearms are impossible.
Oh yeah, she totally phoned this in for me, and I was just like, okay, well, thank you for your contribution, but I have other artists to go with. So
Hey, James, I have a
There you go.
question, but a comment on Zach first. I've noticed when Tom King talks about being on the CIA, unless it was attached to his Sheriff of Babylon book about the Middle East, and I missed that attachment, he seems to get this cred of, oh, I was in the CIA, but there's not a lot of substance there. When Zach talks about his military experience, it is to cite specific examples, or to say, in all my time in the military, I never saw this, I always saw that. Or he says, I learned in the military this, that, and the other. So just a distinction I thought was pretty interesting about character and maturity and being a real person. On that note, when it comes to, so that's my thing. when it comes to my temptation, I don't have the power because I'm blocked, but I am so tempted to cancel anybody. Like you try to cancel somebody, we'll just cancel you. Talk to us about that temptation and why not to follow through on it, please.
Okay, just real quickly, because I know that I'm long-winded and you guys said you have a short amount of time.
Yeah.
First off, Zach is extremely insightful. The reason why he says the things that he says, and he always has, like, he'll say something that's basically a parallel in modern life to what he's actually discussing. He's great with those parallels. Probably the best of anyone that I've ever heard on the internet. Like, he literally may be the best person on the internet for specifically thinking about a parallel in real life and then talking about it in his videos. And I think a lot of people.
I'm sorry, that's what I was trying to point out. I didn't do it very well. Where Tom King is just
phenomenal at it, and that's the problem.
Where Tom King is just hollow and empty is what I was trying to get at.
Yeah, but that's just it, though. I think Tom King is not alone in that. There are a lot of people who decide in their head, I'm going to push everyone away except those who agree with me. And those are the only ones, including Comicsgate. Comicsgaters have done it plenty, where they've said, I don't want anyone around except those who agree with me. And then they're shocked when Ethan turns around and goes, but those people buy stuff too. Why don't you buy my stuff and tell me why you don't like it? Because Ethan has one job: support his family. Now, he happens to entertain us. He happens to do a really good job at making cool toys. His people around him, dude, he is developing a circle of people around him that are all super talented. You know, how many times have we seen Michael Bancroft sitting right there do something that had Ethan involved? It was freaking hilarious and brilliant. And I mean, like, really talented. And it shows off people like Michael because they didn't have a platform before to show just how talented they were. That's the thing about what Tom King is doing. He's just a guy with a really big platform that otherwise wouldn't have it if there was no DC Comics, because who the fuck is looking online for a Tom King indie book? No one's looking for that. Tom, you're a grown-ass man. Go onto Indiegogo and compete against Ethan. You're the writer of Batman. You're literally the writer of, like, a lot of
John
Batman
Gordon Murphy
comics.
already tried that.
But that's just it. Sean Gordon Murphy, he made the mistake of going, I want to see if I can please everybody, so he couldn't please anybody. It's a difficult thing. And yet Sean Gordon Murphy, not playing politics, not talking trash, Sean Gordon Murphy is so talented that he walked onto Indiegogo with a book that premise looked pretty rough. It looked pretty convoluted, even though it was obviously from somebody who knows how to write a book. Sean does know how to write a book. He does know how to make characters interesting. He does know how to make you read stuff, and his art is freaking awesome. Look at the Skip Edwards. Good point, James Dean Anderson. Like when Michael Jordan made the comment, Republicans buy shoes too. That's just it, guys. Republicans buy shoes too. And it turns out liberals like liberal arts. Most people in comics art are actually pretty liberal, or at least socially liberal. Like a lot of writers, a lot of people are just like, oh, you know what? We want to drink a little scotch. We want to have a conversation with people. You be you. I don't care who you're sleeping with, as long as you're both adults and you're allowed to do that.
I think most people are like that. It's just that on the far left, if you don't also subscribe to every single one of their, Yeah,
you guys see what I'm doing right now? You see what I'm doing? Watch. This is here, just this outside. These are the people that we listen to a lot. Everybody in the blue and my big dumb head in the middle. We're all people. We don't get it. These people out here are just like, that's all the noise you hear. But it's all of these other people that actually have to buy something. Because these other people have already decided who they're buying for and who they're supporting. If you want to know, honestly, an answer to your question as to why you shouldn't do that, because it turns out we can go, I'm just not buying your crap because I think it sucks. But when you start going, I'm not buying your artwork because you're not a good artist, or I'm not buying your writing because you're a good writer, but I just don't like your politics, but the writing was really good, then you're the one that suffers, not them. Because then you as a person can't be subtle and nuanced and have a heart for human beings, but also enrich yourself with other ideas that aren't just your own. When you stop having a sounding board that is able to take in other audio, you have a problem. You've taken away your ability to appreciate art. You think I go back there and take that off of my wall because I care about if Sinclair that colored it, or Jim Lee that drew it, or the guy who originally came up with Batman, who was, basically robbed of Batman pretty much by Bob Kane. If any of these guys, and by the way, he was kind of Zorro anyway, if any of these guys have politics that I don't like, and then I stop being able to appreciate Batman.
Mm-hmm. Well, what I was referring to by canceling the cancelers was, I think, applies with what you're saying anyway. You could just take it and apply. It's not that they have politics I don't like. That I was referring to the temptation of saying, like, we only give the death penalty to murderers, that kind of thing. So, hey, if you're going to go try and cancel somebody, we'll just cancel you for it, and avoiding that temptation. That's what I was referring to. But I think you answered it anyway.
Yeah, I just think, guys, honestly, I think that you rob yourself.
Yeah.
Here's a perfect example.
You do need
perfect example of this.
James.
This is Glenfiddich, right? Glenfiddich is Scotch. I may not be saying it right. Glenfiddich. I don't know. I'm mildly Scottish and a lot Irish. Here's what I know. I don't give a fuck what your politics are. If you make good Scotch, I'm going to enjoy some good Scotch. That's your problem if you have a problem with politics. But if you put a Nazi symbol on it, I'm going to tell you to go fuck yourself. Does that make sense? It's like when Tom King has personal politics or whatever that I don't agree with, I don't care. When he goes on Twitter to destroy a person's life, I go, I don't want to be anywhere near you because you're a disease. Mm-hmm. Jay Lee did a comic book cover. He didn't ask Ethan to give him a rundown of his political spectrum. He didn't ask him to go, I need an approved friends list or I can't do this. That is fucking madness, and you can't pay your bills that way. Art is already hard to make money in, and I think you guys all know that. Art, writing, creative work, everyone in the chat, how many of us are creatives, even if we don't have creative jobs? And this is a guy who is a creative with a creative job and an office I have to pay for that I'm not even really allowed to go to much, and I can't bring clients into because of a pandemic for 3 months. So I was paying bills on stuff for art because I've made a life out of art and design. And I don't care what other people think of me as long as they are paying for the art that I make. I just go, dude, you bought it. You don't have to like me. I applaud you and I appreciate you supporting the arts. Just because we disagree on stuff, so what? Because here's what I know about all of you guys. We all disagree on something. Everyone disagrees with everyone else on something. And the only thing that the other 7.5 billion people on the planet have in common is that they're not you. When you decide to think for them, Tom King, you fuck up. You played yourself.
I'm going to have to interject here. People have probably been seeing me trying to get in. It's very hard to get in between James Dean Anderson and Smiling Bandito when they get talking. It's great stuff. We love it. But I do have to end it there. Just to cap that off, I think it was Scott Adams, I think it was him who said, just what world do you...
This is how we get in place of Michael Bancroft.
Yeah.
I think your mic is muted there, James. Yeah,
it is.
Oh, that was great. He froze. Yeah, because I had muted myself and I was like, I should stop talking. And then he froze. Michael, when you come back, what world do you? And that's all we got. So whatever you come back.
Well, the one reason I would want to avoid canceling people because they've canceled others, this is a place where I'm really tempted. Canceling is like pointing you out so that you can never work again, that type of thing, which is what he was trying to do.
You know
what? That is not the same. Hold on, James, please. That was not the same. Oh, that was Bandito? I'm dyslexic. That was not the same as like, I need an approved friends list. And for me, I am so tempted to go, as if I could, I don't have the power.
It's Michael from Back to the Future.
Ensure that that everyone knows how much of a scumbag Tom King is. What am I doing to my own character, my own soul, wasting my time, getting into, and that would lead you into arguments with people you don't want to associate it with anyway. Instead of, I could be out improving my character, having a great time with my girlfriend. Take your pick. I could be living life instead of, and building people up instead of focusing on one little target that isn't going to make a difference in the world.
As busy as Poland.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. He's so busy.
Yeah, but I can genuinely not like your writing and just go, you know what, I'm not going to buy your book. Or genuinely go, You have different politics than me, but I'm going to back your
separate
stuff
issue.
because it's good art.
You keep jumping to different issues that aren't what I'm addressing. They're good
Yeah,
issues.
but here's the thing, though. Here's what you're missing. I'm going somewhere with this.
Okay.
But I still can't turn around and then be the guy who goes on Twitter posting pictures of walking with his dog after you trash on somebody who says they just lost their dog.
Oh, I know.
I don't have to support that. That's a demon.
Yeah.
Like that has nothing to do with me caring about your politics. That's narcissistic, sociopathic cruelty.
Mm-hmm. And the temptation I'm talking about avoiding is actually not even that temptation. I'm talking about something else. I hope I've been clear. That's all.
Okay, we got to give Bancroft a moment here if he's going to be closing it out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, guys, this was a lot of fun. Thanks for letting me take over.
You.
And,
It's been great. Sorry, I'm not going to try and make a last point because it's what I did want to do is
Great
I just
to have
wanted
you,
to.
James.
We've got 54 people here, like Antoine said. I just did want to plug the Lucent one more time. We won backer off 535.
What?
Which is incredible.
Oh my goodness.
You can see that lovely looking Australian dollar number there. Doesn't that look good? So yeah, if you haven't backed the Lucent yet, go check that one out. And I also wanted to show Xenotype today because they're one backer away from 590. And that means if they get to 590, they're just 10 little backers away from 600. If you can believe that. So yeah,
so
anyone who hasn't backed those books right now yet, go check them out. These well, obviously my book, I vouch for it. I'm putting everything that I can into this thing, and I absolutely vouch for Xenotype as well. Two fantastic properties, guys.
I vouch for it too.
It has been. Look at all these Bancrofts in here. Look at all these Lucents in here. It's been a real pleasure, James. We've got to get you back on again soon because this has been a great conversation. Thank you to everybody in the chat. What a chat it's been. We've had over 50 people in here pretty much the whole time. So this has just been really excellent. And we will be back tomorrow with another discussion. So thank you all. And I'll see you next time.
I'm actually, you guys had me on. So all backers and your
Robot.
does look.
Remember,
See
be
you guys.
yourself.